Your goal was me, or your goal was to get to Hawaii? What do you mean?
To talk to you more.
Hello and welcome to another YouTube video. I'm Kytia L'amour and this is my husband,
Jerrell.
He's gonna be here talking with me. If you hear crunching in the background, that's my daughter. We gave her some snacks and a show so that she'd be content. But anyways, we're gonna be talking about our first impressions of each other, and sometimes when you meet a couple, they talk about their first impressions and how they met, and the story is a little bit different because you're not remembering all the details. When we met, we weren't thinking we would ever get married. So that being said, we're going to talk about our different versions of our first interactions. That is so loud. Of our different interactions, and I'll go first and then he's gonna talk about like what he remembers from that. So first I'm gonna talk about the first day we met. So as some of you know, if you've watched some of our previous episodes, we met in California, but I'm from Hawaii. So I went on a trip to California with a couple of my artist friends to do like an art tour, and then he was a mutual friend with one of our art friends that was in the group traveling to LA. So the first night we landed and we had to get a rental car, me and my group of friends, and it took like forever to get the rental car. Then we had to drive to the house. So I think, and I could be wrong, I think it was like 10 or 11 at night by the time we actually were at the house. And I remember one of our friends saying, "Hey, I have some LA friends, I'm gonna go to Denny's with them. So do you guys wanna come?" And I was thinking like, it's late, like who's going to Denny's? Like why is there a field trip right now? Like everybody needs to go to bed. We had just picked out our rooms in this rental house that we were staying in. It felt very like the real world, like all of us young adults being in a house and picking our rooms. And so actually the mutual friend that we know, I shared a bed with her because there was a master suite and it had a queen or a king size bed. So she's the one who actually went out with him and his friend to Denny's. And then I was just like, I'm tired. I had like a migraine. I wasn't feeling very good. So I was trying to sleep while everybody else was like laughing and playing and sounding like little kids. And then by the time he came back to the house, what I remember is he had some artwork and then our friend had some artwork and they were like trading it or something. And I just remember like briefly walking past him in the house and then not really thinking anything of it. I may or may not have said hello. I don't remember, but that's kind of like my cloudy, not really clear memory of like our first like actual interaction. So what do you remember?
All wrong. We were in New York. No, so I think that's pretty accurate. I think everything about us not talking, I don't think you said hello or met me that night. I vaguely remember when I brought over my artwork and we were swapping with my friend that there was someone in the house that had a migraine and they were like going to bed and they had like maybe a head wrap or like their hair was like a thing around their hair, but
it was a bandana because I used to wear bandanas a lot.
So I think that I knew you were there and you had a headache, but I didn't meet everybody at the house that night, I don't think. Because like you said, we went to Denny's and I had a bunch of artwork and we were swapping artwork.
Do you remember what time it was?
It was late. I think us going to Denny's around 10 or 11 is what you remember. Mm-hmm. I think that was accurate. Because me and my friend had come to the house. It was already really late. And then we went out to eat. It probably was close to 10 or 11. And when we were back, I think it was like midnight or really late because I think my friend that I was with had to go back to LA. Maybe I think he had work in the morning or something. So we tried to get out of there pretty quick. But I did not meet you formally on that night. Because
I just remember passing by. Like I think I had tried to go to bed and it was impossible. So maybe I came out to like, I don't know, get water or something. I don't know. I just remember it being like all of these different original pieces of artwork that you and our friend were going through, and I was just like, oh, they're like swapping artwork, like that's so cool. I didn't know that was a thing that artists did. I thought you just sell it or something. So that was our first night. And then the next few weeks, because I want to say it was like 12 days, 11 or 12 days we were in California. So the next couple things I remember were kind of sprinkled in interactions, and it's like hard to even remember like when things happen. But I do remember going to paint the walls at Venice Beach, because there's these walls that artists go and they do graffiti art on. So we were there. And then there was like another time we went to Disneyland, and that's another reason why Disneyland is kind of like special to us, because that was the first time we really started talking. Was I was just hanging out with my friends, and I was like, oh, this guy is here again. Like, oh, and there was another event too at the Airport Lounge in San Diego. I don't know if that's still a place. So it's like that art show, the Venice Beach graffiti walls, and then Disneyland. So he was very interested in like hanging out with us and seeing his friend, who was a mutual friend. And then I was just like, wow, he's always around. Like, who does that? Like, why is he so available? And then once we were at Disneyland, it seemed like he was kind of flirting with me, but I couldn't tell because I didn't know him or his personality. I just remember being like, why is he like throwing his glove at me, or like stepping on my shoe? Or no, he would do this thing where he would put his foot under my foot when we were walking and be like
technically you were stepping on my feet then.
So acting like I was stepping on his feet, but he was always close. And like then he started saying like, oh, you look like the girl from the Cosbys, what her name is? Lisa Bonet. And I was like, yeah, I get that a lot. So, but it was like around that time we were in a line for a ride for a really long time, and then we started talking, and I was like, wait a minute, like he's pretty cool, like that's awesome. Oh well, like I'd never be with him because I don't do long distance, but he's a cool guy, I guess, and he's around a lot, and he was really sweet. That I think the next day after going to Disneyland, I had like a birthday dinner or lunch at the Olive Garden, and I asked him if he was available, I think, but he wasn't. But still that night he had a card in his car, like he would just have greeting cards in his car just in case. So he gave me his first Revelations graphic novel and a birthday card in Spanish. And then I was just like, wow, that's really cool. And then I don't remember much. I think he had to go, him and his other friend from LA had to go, and that was maybe our last time seeing each other on that whole trip. So that's my overall like interactions, I think, with you.
Yeah, I think that's accurate. I remember Disneyland quite well, and the gloves and the shoes thing. And that night, for the birthday, it was like, I think it was after midnight. So I knew that her birthday was the next day, and I couldn't go to that thing. And it was like 8:50 something. And I was like, okay, well, it's gonna be her birthday soon. I think they were gonna do a song or a cake, or I forget if they did anything that night.
I don't even remember.
But I knew that it was her birthday coming up, and I was like, hey, I have my books in the car, and I always have cards. The thing with the greeting cards is I used to give a lot of cards, family members and friends and stuff. It became kind of a running joke with, oh, it's my cousin's birthday, or it's Christmas, and then I'll just give a happy Secretary Day card, or a Spanish Feliz Navidad card or something, because it was more of a joke, and I just write whatever in it that was appropriate. So I did have that card in the car, and I ran to the car. It was like almost midnight, and I grabbed it and I wrote in it, and I think I signed the book and I wrote in it, and then I gave it to her, like her, as to say, hey, it's her birthday, and I don't know you, but I'm starting to know you, and here's something that you might like.
And what's cool about that too is, and you have to tell them more about like when how you met at the pizza port.
How I met at the pizza port? Oh yeah, that's right.
So I didn't even remember this part. I just remember him showing up and appearing out of thin air at Disneyland, but apparently what happened? It wasn't that you met us at Disneyland. It was...
Yeah, they were already there.
No, it was at Disneyland. I thought it was California Adventure Park that he met us at, but it was...
At Disneyland.
Yeah.
So they were already at Disneyland, and then I had an annual pass, so I could go whenever I wanted to.
Baller.
And I didn't have blockouts, which is nice. So I went there. They were already there in Tomorrowland. They were eating at the pizza port. So they were outside, and I came over to their large group of people, and I sat at a table and I had some food with them. But they had already started, and I don't think I was at a table with you because there was like,
I don't even remember
so many
you coming
people.
there.
So I was probably sitting at the table with other, like my friend and like people that she knew that she had brought. Part of the thing for me with the Hawaii group that was visiting, I was in a time in my life when the friends that I had were very fickle, and I even had like a birthday party that nobody came out to and different things where I was like, so what is my group of friends? Like, how is that okay? Or should I find a new group of friends? Or is this what friendship is like kind of thing in my life?
Is this what friendship is?
So shortly after,
no birthday party.
So shortly after that is when they came out, and the whole Hawaii, the spirit of aloha, the ohana family thing.
The mahalo.
When they came out, it was very different. So that group of friends that they had, the camaraderie between them, I was supporting my friend, and then I met her, but just overall the whole group of people were very inviting to me, and even wanting to be involved with the art shows and things that they were doing, because I never heard about them before they came out here.
You never heard of us?
Mm-mm.
So that's his recollection of it. And the really cool thing about when he gave me my card for my birthday, like he was the first person, I guess, since it was still days before my birthday. I don't even think we went out the day of my birthday, but I know I had my birthday in California. And the cool thing about that is when I was still 21, I turned 22 when we met. When I was still 21, I remember like December of, I guess 2007. Yeah, December of 2007 is when I had prayed to meet my future husband. I felt like I'm ready. I felt like God was saying I was ready or becoming ready or whatever. So I was like, God, before I turn 22, I want to at least meet him. I want him to be in my life. I don't have to even know it's my husband, but before I turn 22, I want to meet my future husband. So a few months go by. February of 2008 is when we met, and that was days before I turned 22 is when I met my husband. So, and he is the first one to give me a card, and so that was pretty cool. So after that, I didn't really think much of our friendship. I knew that California was home for me. The moment I landed in Los Angeles, the Lord told me, this is your home. I didn't know how I would get there, but I remember feeling like homesick after I left and went back to Hawaii. My friends were like, yeah, how was it? Are you glad to be back? And like, I probably shouldn't have said this, but I was just like, yeah, I don't want to be here anymore. And like, I wish I was in LA, and I just felt so like homesick about California and like, how do I get there? How long is it gonna take? And then September 2008 is when he came to Hawaii to do an art show, and I was still out there, so I was like the point of contact for him to be like, I'm in the art show, like what are the details, and like blah 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 blah. And I was even working on like a documentary about the art group that I was in. It never happened because I tried hard to get the footage that I needed and get the stuff. It was just like pulling teeth getting everybody in the documentary to be on board, and I was just like, whatever. So that didn't happen. But throughout that time, once in a while he would hit me up on MySpace, and that was like where our love kind of blossomed, was like MySpace and emails. But for me, I was just kind of like, oh, he keeps reaching out to me, and almost like he is asking questions just to stay in touch and not because he really needs to know. But because I think he was like, what does your name mean again? Or like, it was like something like that. I was like, this is what it means, like whatever, like why are you still around? When we're done, I'll get you more. Just focus on being quiet, okay?
That'd be a great video of you talking to me right now.
Okay. Thank you. Okay. So during that time, I was focused on living my best life, being a 22-year-old, and I wasn't really thinking about him as a relationship person. But like when I left and everything, what was like your mindset about me? Or like, was there anything that you're trying to do about me?
Everything. I was trying to do everything about you. It's so long ago that there's like gaps in, like I know A and D and F, but some things I don't know how they fit. I know I was talking to the main guy in the group because I really was interested in what they were doing in Hawaii. It worked out perfectly because she ended up being the point of contact, which was kind of my goal. Like, hey, since I knew she was the one who
Your goal was me, or your goal was to get to Hawaii? What do you mean?
To talk to you more. But like to have because she was the point of contact for artists because of the documentary they were doing, I was like, perfect. Then this girl Kytia could be the one that I reach out to about getting my artwork in the show and everything. I wanted to talk to you more, so I was like, perfect that you were the person to reach out to.
But did you know me? Like, did you know I was a thing in your life, or were you just like, she's cool, I want to get to know her more, or were you?
I didn't know enough.
I
didn't know enough yet. So there's a way to kind of, and even MySpace, if anybody remembers MySpace, that was huge in terms of knowing your walk and everything, because it was important that for whoever I was gonna pursue or marry eventually, that they were not just, oh, I'm a Christian, but like, how is your walk as a believer in what you believe? I was already like, she's beautiful, she's awesome, and she's an artist, and all these things that are already boxes in my list. But then I needed to.
You had a list of boxes.
Yeah, I have a whole list of boxes. But I needed to know more about you. And MySpace was a big part of, okay, she has, where you can, it wasn't devotionals, it was...
I had like blog posts.
Your blog posts, and then you would write all this stuff about your walk and your relationship with God. So I would read like all of those.
Playa.
And so I found out like more about who you were. And then the preparation for the art show out there was a way to kind of further that into like conversations and planning and organizing, that it was actually going to be a real thing that I'd be able to go out there and be a part of, because I had never been to Hawaii before that.
So he ended up staying with the mutual friend who introduced us. So he had a place to stay, he had airline tickets, the availability to come. You know how some people, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this, and then it's like, no, you're not. So it's like for him to be like, oh, you're here. Like, I think you were the only person from out of town on that art show that we did. It was like a huge art show, a really good turnout, and he was, I think, the only person from like out of town. And there was even another artist there working on the mural with you and just being like, oh my gosh, I've heard of you. And I was just like, you heard of him? Like, who is he? Like, but I think it's just amazing how God orchestrates things, because we could not have planned that. We couldn't have. So I just think it's great that even though I was like, I'm living my life like it's golden, I don't know who you are, that the Lord put it on his heart, like, pursue her, get to know her, like, reach out to her, stay connected. And that leads into our first date, which was September of 2008. We didn't know it was a date, but that's a whole nother story for another day. This is to be continued. I know I don't like cliffhangers either, but like, if you want to see part 2 of our first date and how we went from friends to courting to being engaged to married, that's a whole video that we can talk about another story time. Thank you for being here today. Do you have anything else you need to say about?
No, that'll be in the next time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for watching today. If you want to see more videos like this, on Wednesdays I do stuff like this. I do challenge videos. I do fashion and beauty things. Talk about God on Sundays and my faith walk with him. So Wednesdays and Sundays, check me out here. And stay subscribed if you haven't already. And also hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a beat exactly when I upload on my channel. All right. We'll see you next time. Bye. An audio test. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So during that, so
Durango.